Kalyanaraman of Saraswati Research Center in India. I will be presenting to you an extraordinary sequence of events since August 2005 in America. A series of events which have led to Hindu civil rights agitation. Thank you. The topic of my presentation relates to California textbooks. Every 6 years in California, the 6th grade textbooks used for history and social sciences get reviewed in what is supposed to be a transparent manner with inputs from the public to ensure that there are no misrepresentations or errors in the textbooks. What started as a review of the textbooks has ended up as a statement from the Hindu community and the California parents declaring we dare defend Hindu civil rights. I want you to focus on this globe. Do you see a distortion here? It has been horizontally flipped. Sri Lanka is here, but in reality Sri Lanka should be here. There is a reason why this globe has been pictorially modified with a flip. We will see the reasons why in the next sequence of presentations. I would like to make a disclaimer in this presentation that I will be presenting only facts. I will not be presenting any arguments. We will keep the arguments for discussions at the end of the presentation. These are a set of facts which are verifiable, and all the references will be made available on a separate CD. And I would really appreciate if there are any comments, they can be sent to me at this email address. See, the story begins in a very tragic note. A child who is in grade 6 in California, public school, comes back home crying to her mother, "I don't want to be Hindu, I feel humiliated." This should have been a shock to the mother, and she expressed it in an interview with a journalist, that there is a total disconnect and a disjoint between what happens in the school and what we practice as the Hindu tradition at home and in the community. The basic issues that have arisen from the review of the textbooks is that there has been a massive misrepresentation of the Hindu faith used in the textbooks in California. Initial introduction is given in grade 6, and later on a more detailed study is made in grade 10. In the due process that was put in place, there have been violations of the due process by including inputs from those who have no knowledge of the Hindu faith or those who are not Hindus in making their representations and accepting their representations to continue the distortions. This has resulted in a totally inaccurate and insulting language used against the Hindu religion and faith. Just take a look at some examples. The textbooks contain insulting statements like the one you see on the screen. Is it the way to tell a child that she comes from a heritage of monkeys? There seems to be a total lack of understanding of the Hindu traditions. We will examine as we go along as to why this happened, this misunderstanding has happened. Just take a look at the way a very glorious tradition of celebration of Diwali all over the country of India is described in a textbook. This is not the metaphor related to Diwali. Diwali is a festival of lights, a festival of joy, and a celebration of victory of good over evil. Is this the way to represent a very major festival of a great country and a great faith of the Hindu, who are today almost 1 billion people in the world, representing almost 20% of the world population? There should be some better understanding of this segment of humanity. Inaccuracies. In every society as it has evolved, in every civilizational area, there have always been gender differences. Can we impute our present understandings of gender differences and gender equality to the past when we talk of the tradition as it evolved? And is it correct to represent that in Hindu faith alone, the women are inferior to men? Has a similar statement been made in relation to other faiths? Or have the curriculum content been fairly dealt with across all faiths? That is the issue. We saw the child coming back crying from the school because the child is subjected to mockery by the fellow students. Well, what type of society do you come from? You worship monkeys, you worship elephants. You don't have any scripture, you only have stories and mythologies. Is that the way to stereotype a great community which has a continuing civilization? Which is a continuing civilization, which reveres women as divinities? There is no other culture that we can think of which has given such a place to the woman, and equality and a total freedom in responding to the phenomena surrounding us in society. You can see the impact on the kids. They develop a low self-esteem and it creates an identity crisis. The most important thing is that there is a discrimination here. They are deprived of an educational experience equal to their peers in the classroom. This is the summary of the problem. What can we do? There has been a petition that is going the rounds on the internet, which already has more than 3,000 signatures, including signatures by over 100 academics, Sanskrit scholars, and senior professionals in various disciplines, who have said that this stereotyping and this type of creating anti-Hindu hate groups must be stopped. A legal defense fund and a Hindu children education fund have been constituted. I think we can contribute to that. Not only in terms of financial terms, we can also contribute in terms of the educational material. Can we undo the injustices done through the textbooks by presenting accurate and unbiased, fair representation of the Hindu traditions? Can every parent get involved with the children's education? At least take a look at the books that the children are studying in their schools. Participate with the school principals, with the parents and teachers associations. Get involved in the process of selection of textbooks or review of textbooks. Get involved in making presentations, extracurricular presentations, or celebration of Diwali in every school, or celebration of Guru Vandana in every school. The initiatives taken in some communities, school communities, for celebration of Diwali in the school, in the classroom, and celebration of Guru Vandana in the Hindu tradition have been very well received. And that has contributed to a better understanding between the teachers and also within the Hindu community as to how there should be no stereotyping of the Hindu, and there should be a sense of pride created in the children of a great civilizational heritage. We can also take a vow that the lawsuit that has been filed to affirm the Hindu civil rights is fully supported. We should resolve to connect with every Hindu everywhere. In America alone, there are more than 2 million Hindus. They should be contacted, there should be a network, and there should be an expression of their concerns in this matter. This is an overview of what I will be presenting in 4 segments. We will talk about constitutional rights. We will talk about the violations of the constitutional law of the United States, which has occurred in the recent events, in the events since August 2005. We will discuss the developments that have happened so far in relation to the Hindu civil rights and what we can do further to strengthen and to represent the Hindu tradition in a fair and accurate manner. Now let's talk about constitutional rights. The law of the land in America, which is a great country with a great tradition of the laws, which is the beacon of democracy in the entire world,
is this, that there should be no discrimination against any religion, or there should be no discrimination on the basis of ancestry. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution provides for freedom to pursue one's faith, and there should be no impairment of this First Amendment law. The federal and California state laws very clearly stipulate that no belief system should be held up to ridicule, and no religious group should be portrayed as inferior. And there should not also be an encouragement or discouragement of belief or indoctrination of the student in any particular religious belief. What type of violations have occurred? We'll see. In the events that have occurred since August 2005, particularly after the interjection of a group of non-Hindus claiming themselves to be self-proclaimed academics who have the right to dictate the contents of the textbooks, has resulted in a massive violation of the law. And these laws are being violated, targeting the Hindu community as the victims. This is a crucial table that you should take a look at. Let us spend a little time on this. Look at the issues. Are women equal to men in various traditions? Is there an oppression of certain groups, or is there any discrimination of certain groups within the society? Are beliefs to be considered as historical facts, or are beliefs to be reviewed as metaphors unique to each culture? Who is the competent person to interpret the tradition? You should be an insider, or should you be an outsider? Is the Hindu faith to be treated as a world religion because it is practiced by almost 1 billion people? Or should there be any incursion of social or political issues of any foreign country? Let us look at the way these issues have been dealt with for different faiths. Why is there a discrimination against the Hindu vis-a-vis the other communities, other faiths? Why is there a discrimination vis-a-vis the other communities and the Hindu? Is it there not been discrimination in other communities in history? Why should the Hindu faith be singled out for discriminatory treatment? This is a picture that is sought to be introduced in the textbooks in relation to what is referred to as the caste system in India. This is what a Harvard professor was trying to propose. Is it okay to introduce a word like Dalit, which had no sanction and no reference whatsoever in any ancient period text? And after all, this textbook relates to an ancient period. This is a new political statement that is being made in the context of uniting a group of people who are in a state of poverty and who have been discriminated against. Discriminations occur in every society. Why should this get highlighted only in the case of the Hindu? The tragic part of it is that there are non-Hindu groups who are interjecting themselves in this particular issue of what is called the Dalit or the untouchable in a society. This is one part of the story. The questions of discrimination societies being reflected fairly in respect of all faiths in all societies, and not singling out a particular faith of Hinduism as being responsible for this. In fact, it will be inaccurate to link the Hindu as a faith to what happens in a social formation. And in fact, the caste itself is a word that has been taken from the Portuguese word casta, which refers to race. This was a word that was introduced by the British colonial regime when they wanted to take a social survey of the people. So let us take a look at the other issues that are very critical in determining if there has been any discrimination of the Hindu in relation to or in comparison with the other faiths in these textbooks. Let us look at the biases and the errors. Inaccurate statements are made to give an insulting statement that a group of people called the Brahmins had to memorize 100,000 verses as though it is an impossibility. But in reality, there are no 100,000 verses. There are only 30,000 verses in all the versions of the Vedas. The Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda and the Atharva Veda. It's also incorrect to have said that the Hindu women are not allowed to read the Vedas or the sacred texts. In reality, parts of the Vedas were written by women, and more than 20 women were declared as rishis and mentioned as such in these sacred texts. They are not mere script, they are scriptures, but they are sacred texts for us, for the Hindu. Two great epics which constitute the metaphors of the entire civilization of the Hindus are the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. It's an inaccurate statement to make that one particular epic was written before or later than the other epic. And in reality, the contents of the text point out that the Mahabharata has several references to the characters and events mentioned in the Ramayana. And the Hindu tradition holds that the Ramayana events occurred earlier than the Mahabharata events. There is an inaccurate statement even about the writing system of a very major language called Hindi, which is spoken by more than 60% of the people of India. It is not written in a very Arabic alphabet, which uses only 18 letters. It is written in what's a script called the Devanagari script, which was earlier used for the great language of the world called Sanskrit, which uses 54 letters. Here is a picture that is shown to the children, not in the California textbook but elsewhere in USA, saying that this woman is wearing a sari. She is not wearing a sari, she is wearing a langa. How does a sari look like? This is how it looks like. There are different versions of wearing saris. This is the Bengali version of wearing a sari, and this is the modern woman's version of wearing a sari. One textbook points out, not in California but elsewhere, or a geography textbook, that this is a theatre, a cinema theatre, in a major city with about 20 lakh people or 2 million people. Let us see the pictures of this city showing places of entertainment park. This is what it is. There has been a sea change of development that has taken place after the India achieved independence from the colonial regime in 1947. Is it not stereotyping to show those type of pictures, saying that they represent the cinema theatres? Here is another picture from the geography book showing a great city called Jaipur, which is a very ancient civilizational city with a holy tradition. Want to show that the cattle, the cows just roam around on the streets. It's a stereotyping. Let us see how this street of Jaipur looks like from the other side. This is how it looks like. This is a magnificent structure called the Hawa Mahal, a multi-storied building with beautiful windows and lattices. An extraordinary architectural marvel. Should this represent Jaipur or the previous picture represent Jaipur? Next. Here is another caricaturing that is done in another textbook, where a project is given to the students to organize the Hindu society. That the teacher, the ruler will be on the first chair, and there will be 2 chairs in front rows for the Brahmins, and then rows for the Kshatriyas, Vaishya and Shudra. And then an insulting note is written down that the 10 untouchable students will sit on the floor in the back of the classroom and no chairs for them. Is this the way the society is organized? This is an atrocious way of representing a Samajan. Is this the way the society looks like? Or did it look like this in the past? Let us take a look at some examples. This is a society. Is there any chairs and structuring of the society in those kinds of ranks? Everybody is together in a massive grand festival called Jagannath Ratha Yatra in Puri, which is held every year. This is great. This is a celebration that takes place every year in a function called Holi. All people of all groups of people get together and celebration of joy by spreading color and distributing color. In fact, the ranking of the so-called Jati or the Varna is a colonial creation. There is no sanction for it in any of the past texts or historical events. The very fact of taking the census, the colonial regime tried to rank the people and with different types of privileges. These created the fissures in society and discriminatory tendencies. And there is no sanction whatsoever relating the Jati or the Varna, also referred to as the caste system in English, to the Hindu faith. Now let us look at the developments that have taken place so far in relation to these textbooks. And as I mentioned earlier, it has gone beyond the textbooks and has developed into a civil rights affair. The damage started on November 8, 2005, just a day before the entire edits that were requested by the Hindu parents were supposed to be approved by the California State Board of Education. This is a letter from Witzel, who is a professor of Sanskrit and Indian Studies in Harvard University, together with 46 other co-signatories who alleged political and religious motives. And no specifics were cited. And it's very clear that this Witzel letter made the allegations without even taking a look at the textbooks and without even taking a look at the edits that were requested for and approved by the Curriculum Commission of California. What happens thereafter? On November 9, the commission is supposed to approve the edits, does not approve it. Instead, the person who wrote the letter, together with two other people called Wolpert and Weitzman of California, were appointed as a super content review panel to override the earlier review panel, which consisted of one professor from California. And these people, who are not Hindus, were asked to decide on Hinduism and India. I think it's about time to take a look at the nature of the denigration that has taken place. What has taken place is denigration of the Hindu. And what has taken place is child abuse. No concern for the child has been expressed in the entire process, as though it is a scholarly right and a privilege to dictate what the textbook should contain. Just look at these are all quotes from a message that Witzel sends and gets recorded in a group called the Indo-Eurasian Research Group, Yahoo group. Hindus are referred to as Hinas. Hina means a lowly person. And he adds, they are lost or abandoned, but they cling to their homeland. What's wrong with that? They also tell their daughters to study classical Indian dance. Not exactly a highly regarded occupation back home. Is it not insulting to a set of Hindus and their daughters who go and study this classical dance and their sons who go and study this classical dance? It's a great dance form that has been recognized for thousands of years. And how does it describe the NRIs, non-resident Indians? He refers to them as non-returning Indians. That means he wants them to go back. It is not an insulting statement. It is not a denigratory statement. Let the courts decide whether any civil rights have been violated or any defamation has been caused to the Hindu with these type of statements. And he adds that they want to build crematoria as well. What's wrong? What's wrong with a particular fight following a particular tradition? Today in Britain, crematoria are there. And people who are of other faiths are also cremating their dead and their ancestors. And look at this and lose their Hinduism, which second generation people just understand as boring rituals. He deliberately spells it as a boring, not spelling. It refers to the Varaha, who is looked upon as one of the 10 avatars of the divine, the supreme. In the Hindu concept of the divine, that Paramatman, that Ishvara is supreme. And there are other manifestations that come out in the form of the avatars. One of them is bored. And he looks at it, he deliberately says they are boring rituals. He also refers to the puja as a boring ritual. Temple visit is a boring ritual. And where do we learn our traditions? Mythological comic books. Is it a statement to come from a professor of the Harvard University? And he is considered an expert on the Hindu. This is the problem. On November 23, an extraordinary event takes place. The same person who wrote the letter, who was seen to have been made the accuser, the judge and the jury by being appointed as a super content review panel, sends an email to a set of Dalit groups calling for action. What type of action? That is evident from a fax that was sent from St. Albans Church of Oakland, New Jersey. Even though the fax was from a church, it claimed that it was a Dalit Freedom or Solidarity Forum. Why should this interjection of a non-Hindu entity take place? This is a question to ponder. The copy of the fax is available for review, which is an extraordinary piece of evidence to show how the discrimination against the Hindu has occurred. On December 1, a debate occurs. The Curriculum Commission reviews the recommendations made by the super review panel of Witzel, Wolpert and Heitzman and rejects their recommendations, saying that they are unscholarly, and approves the original recommendations made by the one person CRP, who was Shiv Vajpayee, who was a professor in California. The details of all the events that have taken place since the receipt of the letter of November 8, 2005 from Witzel are all recorded, and also the Witzel letter becomes the exhibit, the only exhibit attached to the federal complaint that has been lodged in the federal court in California. All the details are available in a CD with all the facts and references. Who are the groups involved in this violation of the due process and the violation of the Constitution of the United States? The federal complaint and also the complaint lodged in the California State Court points to and makes the defendants to be the State Board of Education and the California Department of Education in California. Because the State Board and the California Department of Education rejected major edicts related to the type of biases and stereotypes we discussed earlier about the role of women, about the ancestry of the Hindu civilization, about the situation of discrimination among the communities or groups within the country with no relation whatsoever to the Hindu faith, and the positive contributions that have been made by the Hindu civilization to world civilization in terms of mathematics, science or other sciences have not been adequately represented in the textbooks, which is discriminatory. The Witzel letter, we have already mentioned about that. There is another group involved, and the church groups such as the St. Albans interjected themselves. Assisting these departmental people and the academics from the Harvard University and head groups are groups, some groups who belong to what's called the South Asia faculty in America. There are a group of people who call themselves Friends of South Asia, who do not want to accept the recognition, the identity of the Hindu as a cultural entity or India as a country. They would like to lump them together in South Asia. There is also a group of people called the Federation of Inqilabi. Earlier they used to be called Federation of Indian Leftists. Now they call themselves Federation of Inqilabi Leftists. Inqilabi means revolutionary. Next please. Enough is enough. With these type of groups pitted against the Hindu faith and the misrepresentation being promoted by these groups, Hindus have said enough is enough, and they have decided to fight back. A magnificent initiative has been taken by an organization called CAPHEEM, California Parents for Equalization of Educational Material, and they have decided that it is time to fight back. What for? To reaffirm the Hindu civil rights, to highlight the positive contributions the Hindus have made to world civilization in a variety of areas. You can read for yourself. They are not reflected adequately in the textbooks because it's a very ancient civilization and a continuing civilization at that. And more important, highlight the role of the Hindus in the development of the US economy. There is an Indian-American partnership that is growing as a business enterprise, as a developmental enterprise, mutually beneficial to both the countries. Should there be a denigration of such a partnership that takes place in a group of people who are a very vibrant community who have contributed so much to the US economy? The most important issue in the entire process that has happened since August 2005 is this, that the child has been forgotten. What do the guidelines of the State Board of Education say? This is a quote. Textbooks should instill a sense of pride in every child in his or her heritage. The question that the board should ask themselves, the question that the academics who have written to the board denying the edicts that are requested for should ask themselves is this: do these textbooks contribute to a sense of pride in every child in the heritage? More importantly, there has been a denial of the rights of the Hindus to express themselves about their faith and heritage. These are the issues. These are the fundamental issues. The child and the discriminatory treatment meted out to the Hindu in utter violation of the law of the land. Enforce the law of the land. That's what the Hindu civil rights lawsuit takes. This is a trial of the 21st century for reaffirming the pride of the Hindu and their contribution to world civilization and world culture. So the Hindu parents have filed a Hindu civil rights federal lawsuit on 14th of March 2006, which happened to be a holy day, the holy that we saw in the picture. And the Hindu American Foundation has also filed a California state lawsuit on March 17, 2006. What are the details of the federal lawsuit? There is a violation of the California Education Code of the type that we saw about instilling pride in the children. There is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution, that no community should be discriminated against on the basis of religion. In this case, Hindus have been clearly discriminated against in relation to other faiths. There is also a violation of the First Amendment to the US Constitution of not allowing the freedom to express themselves. The Witzel letter claims that the political and religious groups have intervened. What is wrong? Everybody has got a freedom in this free country to express himself in relation to political or religious orientations. That is a violation of the First Amendment of the US Constitution. There is a violation of the Clause 42 of the United States Constitution in terms of association clause. You can't deny a person the right to express himself, and he cannot be stereotyped based on the type of association that he keeps. That is a violation. There has also been a violation of the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act of a transparent process in the due process involved in the revision of the textbooks, of public discussions and not any private secret meetings where decisions are taken and just announced in the public as a fait accompli. And there have been a very clear and flagrant violations of the rules, regulations and guidelines that the Department of California Education and the State Board of Education set for themselves. They are able to have those rules. They are a violation of those rules. This is what has been brought out, not only in the federal lawsuit, but also in the state lawsuit. There has been a violation of these rules and the due process. The Hindus have been attempting the revision of these textbooks for quite some time now. A few years ago, there was a representation made by parents in the Fairfax County to the local principals who have their own freedom to choose whatever books they want, textbooks. And some of those textbooks contain derogatory, biased, stereotyped, erroneous statements. When the parents represented to them, they acted in a very fair and transparent manner, and when the articulation took place with reasoning and evidences, the school board accepted it. And they said that they will not accept the textbooks until the revisions that they requested for are carried out. The fourth item is what can we do further? The call for action. This is a time for all Hindus everywhere to act. See, it's not a mere issue of a textbook in California. California is a very large state. What California decides will have a serious impact and influence the decisions in other states. And in fact, the reviews are coming forth in other states like Texas and Florida, and they will be significantly influenced by what happens in California. California itself will undertake another revision every 6 years. So there should be a process of a continuing involvement of the Hindu community in this process which affects their children. So I think it's not a question of leaving things to be taken care of in their own initiative. It's a question of asserting the rights of the Hindu to represent their tradition, which is not contradictory to what is taught in the classrooms. So the classrooms and the tradition in the community and the family must be in harmony. It's a good initiative that has been taken for the Hindu parents to get involved in the revision process. And if we do not enforce the revisions now, for the next 6 years, the children will be exposed to the same erroneous, biased and stereotyped books, which is not fair to the children, the Hindu children. This is our responsibility. In our tradition, dharma and vrata are our responsibilities. Rights come from discharging or performing the responsibilities that we have for ourselves for reaching a particular goal. Our children have a right to grow proud of their heritage. There should be no demeaning or discrimination against the law. And if we do not stand up for our rights, speak out and help correct the discriminations that have occurred, who else will take it? Our cause. What can be done? We mentioned about an online petition to stop the hate groups. Those people who started the petition are people interested in the university system, particularly the Harvard University, in adhering to certain standards of academic ethics and integrity. Take a look at the details of the petition that were given. I think as many people as possible should get involved in understanding the issues that have been brought out in the petition, of identifying the hate groups and the nature of the hate that they are indulging in against the Hindu. You can contribute financially to the Legal Defense Fund and the Children Fund, and you can contribute to the creation of Hindu educational materials. We can participate in the education of the children by getting involved in the schools, in a school parent teacher association, or getting involved in the committees which decide upon the selection of textbooks. We should take a vow to affirm the Hindu civil rights in the lawsuits that have been filed in the federal court and the California state court. Maybe there should be more such lawsuits to claim defamation damages for the Hindu having been defamed. And more importantly, we should resolve to reach out to every Hindu everywhere, so that there is an effective network of the Hindu and their concerns getting expressed effectively. I think we should take a resolve and a vow to identify cases of this kind of discrimination in every state of the United States. We should also identify lawyers who will support the Hindu cause, so that there can be an effective communication amongst ourselves, amongst the Hindu and the concerned parents everywhere who want to have a fair educational system instituted in this country. What has happened is something extraordinary in this trial of the 21st century. In 1893, Vivekananda gave a clarion call for affirming and protecting Hindu Dharma. Almost 100 years later, a remarkable event has occurred. We have said, yes, we are a very tolerant people and we are very patient. But there are limits to our tolerance and patience. We dare defend our rights too. What are we talking about in this entire presentation? It is related to this fundamental positive responsibility that every parent has towards his child. The kids must have a future that they deserve, and the world as it should be. Look at the globe. We started with a globe that was laterally, horizontally flipped, and we should put it back into proper shape. We should put it back into proper shape in the textbooks and in the media representations of Hindu Dharma. And Dharma is a very profound concept that has been venerated. Very great savants like Mark Twain, like Einstein, who looked upon the contribution made by this mother of civilizations to the rest of the world in identifying that spirit of inquiry to understand the ordering principle that governs all our lives and all the phenomena in such a way that we can live in harmony with this Vedic statement, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The entire world is one globe, one family. Thank you.